Welcome to YATESY'S Espresso Bar.
Hello and welcome to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. It's Rich here, and this is YATESY'S Espresso Bar, our weekly dive into the events that are happening at the City Ground and a chance to have a little bit of a chat about it. And this week in YATESY'S Espresso Bar, we're joined by friend of the podcast, making, I think, your second or third appearance this season. It's Raymundo Football. How you doing, Ray?
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks again, Rich. Good to be back, and it's always good to chat Forest in a format that isn't involved with Twitter. You know, Twitter's it's all about typing, isn't it? It's good to just talk sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is good to talk. So let's start off. Obviously, we've discussed the managerial change in our recent podcasts, but I'm particularly interested in some of the things that you've posted about recently, Ray, where you've said that you seemed quite disappointed that Dyche got dispatched as the manager of Forest.
Well, there is that. I mean, I think many fans want to see continuity in the team. You know, and you know, I know that it's hard to emulate Alex Ferguson, 26 years in the job and all that success, but I think people deserve more than 3 months at a time. You know, it's pretty ridiculous, really, because you're putting people off becoming a manager. People like Paolo Maldini, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, inspirational people. They just won't bother because they think, what's the point? You only get 3 months, and then you get literally, well, as far as they're concerned, chucked in the trash, isn't it? I mean, Dyche has just been chucked in the trash. We move on. We don't think about it again practically. But that's his reputation. That's his legacy. It's his career. You know what I mean? For me, that's not acceptable, really.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, I'm just going to, I'll refer back to the statement that Forest released when Dyche was appointed. So they talked about how he's respected and experienced with the perfect blend of character, tactical acumen, and proven achievement. The teams he has managed were defined by defensive organisation, resilience, and strength from set pieces. Now, I understand the point you're making, Ray, but I'm also going to argue that we didn't get half the things that statement promised.
I'm not sure, to be fair. I mean, I witnessed some pretty stunning victories myself, if I'm being honest. I think he won about 45% of the games that he was involved with. I mean, I can't really see what more he could have done, realistically. I just think people, for me, the fans have played a big part in bringing him down. And when I say the fans, I don't mean all the fans. I just mean the loud, booing, whistling ones and ones singing songs against the team at the end of games. I think they've played a large part in bringing him down, actually. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems clear that Marinakis certainly was influenced by the response of fans in the ground. I mean, yeah, I'm just going to also sort of take it to you that although the stats look good for Dyche, and people outside the club will obviously look at the stats, and you're definitely right. We had some really good victories, and the Liverpool one being an obvious highlight. Spurs, Brentford, yeah, great victories. Yeah. But I'm also going to point out that what we were seeing on the pitch didn't always pass the sniff test compared to what the stats were saying. So, for example, the stats will show Forest should have beaten Wolves with 35 shots, and it was a 0-0 draw, so they didn't lose it. But actually, it was a pretty dire performance and not the first one. And I think really not winning any of those last 3 matches, which were against teams in and around the relegation zone, was probably the nail in his coffin.
I mean, I was there against Wolves, and to be fair, I thought we played all right. We produced 35 chances, let's face it. So 35 shots, 10 on target. On another day, it could have been 5-0. And I guess if it had been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0, then probably people like us would be talking very differently. We would be saying, wow, what a win that was. You know, even if it was just 1-0, we probably would have moved on. So for me, I'm not in that camp at all. This whole the quality isn't there, or that's for me. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that is nonsense for me. For me, it's just about winning games. I really don't care how we win. Don't care if we against Nuno. It was often like hit him on the break. Used to concede 70% possession, and we beat Man United 1-0 with Elanga's goal. It was one of the best matches I've been to in a long time. I just don't see it like that. I don't need to be entertained. I just want to win games and sing songs. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and obviously I get and yeah, let's be honest again. we hear from vocal sections of the crowd, both in and outside of the ground, and of course, social media doesn't help. Um, but okay, we can't do anything about the fact that Dyche has gone. We've got Vitor
Yeah.
Pereira now with 12 games to go. We've got a manager who's come in. He's had, I think it's 13 clubs in 15 years or something like, or it might be the other way round. He seems to have made
Yeah.
short-termism a speciality. So how do you feel about his chances of Forest avoiding the drop, and are they markedly different now to what they were a week ago?
I mean, for me, I probably would have just said from an objective point of view, I'd say we'd have a better chance of staying at with Dyche. Personally, that's what I would say. But obviously, he's not there anymore. So Pereira, just looking at Pereira on an individual basis, I think, yeah, I mean, he brought the field reflector to Wolves last season, didn't he? And he
Yeah,
kept them up. So I can't see any
yeah,
reason why not. And I'd still believe that on paper, our team, I mean, we've got some really, really good players. I think we've got quite a deep squad as well when you think about it. I think our team is better than Leeds' team, it's better than West Ham's team, definitely better than Wolves' team, Burnley. There's quite a few teams who, on paper, we're better than, and I just think, yeah, definitely we can stay up. And Vitor Pereira is probably not a bad choice, especially seeing as the boss, the owner, knows Pereira, doesn't he, from his time at Olympiacos. So I think that's a positive. At least he knows what he's getting himself into there,
yeah, cool.
and vice versa as well. Actually, I mean, Pereira knows what he's getting himself into as well. To be honest, that's
Well,
something, isn't it?
yeah, I was just going to come on to that because Pereira did his first press conference today, and he said he talked actually a little
Yeah,
bit about the idea of knowing Marinakis and kind of having that understanding about what Marinakis is like, and he's talked about fire and passion. That's a quote, and he says.
yeah,
He's ambitious, he wants to win, he's emotional, and I know him very well, said Pereira about the owner. The conversation was about our time in
yeah,
Olympiacos. I remember the energy and fire we created. In Greece, there is fire inside. They like to see the energy, and he asked me to be myself. And of course, obviously, there's a level of trust there because under Pereira in half a season, Olympiacos won the championship, so and the Greek Cup as
yeah,
well. So I think that creates again, it's that word trust, isn't it? This time it feels like
yeah.
Marinakis has trusted himself rather than maybe going with what other advisors has suggested.
Well, that's it. I mean, I was just thinking as you were speaking, and perhaps Pereira sort of the fact that he knows Pereira and Pereira knows him, but maybe that's where Dyche went wrong, perhaps because Dyche, we all know what Dyche is like. He's like a realist, isn't he? Probably said at one point, well, it is as it is. We're not going to change. This is my style. This is you employed me, and I probably eventually that's Marinakis just being the sort of power guy that he is. He probably just thought, well, I'm the owner, you're the boss. You need to change, and it's no good being stubborn like that. Whereas Pereira, he's probably going to be willing to work under Marinakis from the start and basically follow the instructions close to the more like a head coach, isn't it? Just like a head
Yeah.
coach for the rest of the season. So that could be the dynamics, and that could probably work really because Marinakis, no one can slate Marinakis in my opinion. Like his energy and inspiration that he brings. For me, he's unparalleled in world football. Essentially, obviously I don't know all the owners. I've never seen anything like it. The way that and look what he did with Dyche White at the start of the season. What a sensational piece of ownership that was. You know what I mean? Strong man at the top, or what?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we'll come back to Marinakis in just a minute, actually. Just staying with Pereira at the moment. You'd mentioned there that Forest have got a good team and really a team that should be achieving well. And he's made the point that in his press conference, I want the players to. It's difficult for them to change every time because each manager has their own idea of football. I cannot change a
Yeah,
lot because that's impossible playing every 3 days. It means the players need to be intelligent to understand, and I believe we can create something strong together and we must enjoy it. So it sounds to me like that word freedom. And in fact, he said, I want the players to have the freedom to express themselves, to be happy and to enjoy. Now, this is something that when Ange Postecoglou was sacked, we saw the players playing with freedom. There's, there's an argument, isn't there, that new manager bounce is at least partly caused by the old manager not being there anymore. And it sounds as though the
Yeah.
players were not convinced by Dyche's methods once he'd got his feet under the table. So with 12 games to go, is that a nice honeymoon period basically for Pereira to have?
I think it is, yeah, because he's obviously a very affable person, isn't he, Pereira? I mean, all this talk about pints, points, and then pints, it's just quite funny, isn't it, really? And I suppose, I mean, I still remember when Nuno first got the job, he was very cheerful from the start, and I think that endeared him to the players and the fans, you know. And I suppose it's a real thing, definitely, isn't it? And I do think it will see us through to the end of the season. I think we'll probably go and beat Liverpool. And then I suppose it doesn't really matter against Fenerbahçe. It doesn't win or lose or draw. It doesn't really matter. But I think we'll beat Liverpool. I think we'll stay up by a few 5 or 6 points, really, to be fair.
Are you not worried about West Ham, or do you think that it's actually going to be maybe Tottenham or Palace who drop down further?
I think Palace are in free fall, aren't they? But also, who's the other team? You know,
Leeds
there's
are
another
down
team,
there as
isn't
well.
there? That's sort of. Yeah, but Leeds are looking quite positive, aren't they? But you definitely got Palace. Brighton are in a little bit in free fall as well. And so, you know, if they hang on to their manager and if that gamble doesn't pay off for them to keep hold of their managers, instead, if it sort of makes it even worse for them, then it could be that our manager change turns up trumps. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we're going to stay up. And I think definitely Wolves and Burnley could be probably either West Ham or Leeds, because at the end of the day, the team isn't as good as ours, as I said. It just isn't. We've got better players than them.
I'm no fan of having 4 managers in one season, but it kind of felt like it was the right thing to do from my perspective. I appreciate you've got a different perspective there, Ray. Now, also, just to talk about the situation at the bottom of the table, I mean, what I think really did for Dyche is the fact that Palace, you know, they've drawn and they've won, and Spurs have appointed a new manager, and West Ham are on an upward trajectory. Leeds are on an upward trajectory. So yeah, Brighton and Tottenham are the ones most likely to get sucked in. It's not a normal season, is it? Because in a normal season, the points per game ratio that we've got would be enough to keep us safe. But really, we need Pereira to get probably 14 points out of 12 matches, would you say?
To be honest, I've not studied it that closely since the Wolves game, but I guess that sounds about right. I think I was listening to the radio after the game, and I think it was Brian Laws was saying that he thought 40 points might do it this season. So would that be what you just said?
If we get, that's so we need to get 14 points to get to that point. Yeah,
could be then. Yeah, but then again, you just never know, and things change when you start getting desperate at the end of the season, like as we saw against Arsenal in the first season. I still remember that one of the best atmospheres, if not the best, apart from Wembley, I guess. But apart from the playoff final, I mean, but because all those times we've been to Wembley, right? But no, that atmosphere against Arsenal was born out of desperation, wasn't it? And I think the players played out of their skins, and they'll have to play out of their skins, whether they end up going down or not. They'll have to play out of their skins towards the end of the season. So it's a question of desperation. Do you know what I mean? And as a club, I just can't see us going down. We've got too many good players already, and there are too many good, honest players as well. You know, Eddie Anderson is a proper trier. You know, he's tireless. They're all tireless. At the end of the day, they're all out. It just hasn't clicked, has it? As we know, and it's not for want of effort. I truly believe that. I truly believe that it's not for want of effort.
Just for the record as well, I forgot about the point we got against Wolves. So we're currently on 27 points. So we'll need 13 points from 12 more matches to hit that magic 40-point mark. And just for the record as well, with 12 matches to go, Brentford are on 40 points and they're in 7th position. So it's really, really congested in that kind of middle third of the table, isn't it? It's quite something this season, which does mean I think there's a higher points total needed to avoid relegation.
Exactly. But you know, we can definitely do it, and I think we need to get behind the team a little bit better. I know it's all about analysis these days. People are always going on about analysis. I like to talk more about the atmosphere, and I think that if we bring the noise, because we haven't been doing it enough recently, in my opinion, we bring the noise a bit more, then that really does act as the 12th man. I noticed, I listened to the Leeds game on the radio the other day, the Leeds Forest game, and the Leeds fans the Ellen Road was loud before they scored their goal, the first goal. And the same with West Ham as well. I was listening to West Ham against, who was it? I think they beat someone about a week and a half ago. I can't remember, but like the actual, I put a tweet out, I put a half joking tweet out. West Ham are singing a song, and I could hear it on the radio because you're not used to hearing noise coming out of that stadium, are you? But there actually was noise, and then other people have commented. Other people have commented on it as well, saying it was the loudest it's been for a while. So that's what we need. We need all of us to stop, with all due respect, stop whinging and just sing the songs. That's my opinion. I'll be honest.
Yeah. And of course, I'm just going to point out as well that that Arsenal match in the end of our first season back, that's actually a really good illustration, I think, because we had some really good players, but technically we weren't the best team. But it was kind of almost sheer force of will from the fans as well as the players, and of course from Steve Cooper, that got us over the line. And I agree with you. That was one of the most incredible days at the City Ground in my lifetime. So yeah. Okay, we'll come back to some of that in just a minute and talk about Marinakis. But first of all, it's time for this. Okay, welcome back to Yates's Espresso Bar. I'm joined by Raymundo Football. And Ray, I did cut you off just before the break where you were going to come back and talk to us about how Forest escaped relegation in that first season back.
No, it was just a brief last point. I was just basically, I remember thinking at the time when they come out, the Arsenal players, I looked at them, I thought, they're not up for this. Even though technically they were still in the title race, they were, how can I put it politely, they were bricking it. They were bricking it because the atmosphere, and they really were. I clocked it right from the moment they come out on the pitch for the first time, and I was right. They literally bricked it because the noise was that ferocious. It was up there with anything in world football that day, and that's why I go on about it so much, because it makes such a difference, and I just want it to be like that again.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the biggest ground, and we're not the biggest club. But when the European Cup winners from 1979 and 1980 are saying the atmosphere now is way beyond anything that they experienced in the real glory years, that really tells a story, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of febrile atmospheres, Forest are away at Fenerbahçe on Thursday this week, and a place that's well known for being really, really hostile to away fans, sometimes hostile to the home players as well. And so it's a trip to Istanbul. We're going to have George at the ground, and he's going to be reporting back. But Ray, you've been on plenty of travels documenting football around the world, hence your name. But is Istanbul somewhere that's been on your hit list?
I mean, yes and no. Obviously, it will be a tremendous place to watch a bit of football. There's no doubt about that. It's a proper footballing city. I don't know how many clubs there are there. There's lots though, isn't it? It's a massive city and footballing mad. But I'll be honest, it's a little bit intimidating, isn't it? To be fair, and I'm not sure. Even if I'd been offered a ticket for Fenerbahçe, I'm not sure I would have taken it. I don't know. I mean, I know that the allocation wasn't taken fully, was it? Maybe there's other people thinking along the same lines as me that does seem to be trouble any time an English club goes to Turkey, really. So I may be sort of overreacting there in some people's opinion, but I'm not sure. I'm not rushing over there, to be fair, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a combination of cost. People are still getting over the cost of Christmas and everything at the time that tickets went on sale. Yes, it's a long old journey, and then the arrangements are very, very complicated. So fans are being told to stay in the European side of Istanbul, to congregate in one of the big squares where they get on coaches, which Evangelos Marinakis has paid for. And then they get to the ground, I think it's something like 4 hours before kickoff. And once they're there, I mean, at least it's not like the old days where you just get kettled into a holding pen. You're allowed into the ground. But of course, there's no alcohol being served in the Asian side of Istanbul because of Ramadan. So it's going to be a very different experience for our away fans, even compared to the European games that they've attended so far, isn't it?
It will be, and as I say, personally, I'm not convinced that it would be for me. But obviously, some people have decided to go for it. people know the world to an extent. Everyone knows the world to an extent, don't they? So if people will have heard stories about Turkey, but they decided to go anyway, I'd say fair play to them, because obviously most people who go, vast majority of people who go, won't have any trouble. But I just hope that everyone stays safe and just has a great time, and because it will be a terrific atmosphere, won't it? Because obviously Fenerbahçe fans are great in a very loud way, disrespecting most of them. Isn't it?
Yeah. And of course, one man who knows Fenerbahce very well is the new Forest head coach, who's been the gaffer there a couple of times. Surely that's going to be
Yeah.
helpful, just the fact that he can prime the players of what to expect in that cauldron.
I'd say so, yeah, and I think there'll be that feel-good factor, won't it, for him personally going back into a place where he's already been, and I think that's always nice for anyone. Like if I go back to an old workplace, for example, with a new workplace, and you'll always be able to say hello to someone that you've met before, and it'll sort of he'll get a little applause off half the ground anyway, even if not from all of them. So I suppose there will definitely be that feel-good factor for him, and that'll play into our hands as well, I think.
Yeah, very much so. So, in terms of the team, you've talked about some of the players who you think are important. Do you think that Forest will go for a formation change? Who do you see kind of? I think we can safely assume that Anderson and Gibbs-White are still going to be the main players in many ways. I wonder if Murillo's going to make a sudden miraculous recovery from his injury now that Dyche has gone as well.
Yeah, it would be good, to be fair. Obviously, Murillo's he's our best central. Well, he's definitely. It's hard to say, actually. Is he better than Marinakis? I'm not sure, but he's definitely.
I'd say that
one of the two best
greater
ones.
than the sum of their parts, aren't they? They're each other's mate. They've got each other's backs.
Well, they're good in different ways. I think Murillo is probably going to go further in the game than Milenkovic. But then again, Milenkovic is perhaps more towards the peak of his own career than what Murillo is. I don't know. But yeah, they're certainly both incredible anyway. But for me, I think Ryan Yates is the missing part. I really do, because people are talking about not giving it their all, which I don't necessarily agree with. But there's something there's that missing ingredient which Ryan Yates provides, and I just think he does care more than anybody else. I don't see how anyone could deny that. And he does have qualities. He's been there for some top victories. I think he started when we won away at Liverpool, for example. And I'm sure there's loads where he's been on the pitch when we won from the start. And so for me, I put Yates straight in there.
Especially in a hostile atmosphere, I think there's something to be said
for
having a Yates.
But then, the team pretty much picks itself, isn't it? I suppose the main question is the wingers and the striker, because obviously it's a bit of a mix and match. I don't know I can't say off the top of my head who's in the squad. Is Lorenzo Luca in the squad?
Yes, he is, yeah.
I'd probably start with him, to be fair. But then again, it's flick of a coin between him and Jesus. They're both pretty good on paper. So and then the wingers, Hutchinson he did do two terrible corners in a row. The two corners which hit the side netting, didn't he, in a row at the Wolves game, which was pretty shocking, to be fair. I'm not one to criticise, but he'll be aware that that's not the way to go. But then again, he's been playing all right. That's it, though. It's just all right, isn't it, from Hutchinson? There's nothing spectacular. We don't really have any spectacular wingers this season. Hudson-Odoi's been doing all right. Then you got Ndoye, obviously, probably less so, but still not too bad. It's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky. We're missing Elanga.
Yeah, it's true. There's definitely that gap that's never quite been filled. And I think Hutchinson, he is kind of the one with potential, but of course, pace is something you just can't buy. It's something that there's no substitute for it, is there? And then there's Hudson-Odoi, who has one good match, and then he'll have 3 ones where he's nondescript. So if his good match comes along this week, then happy days.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, all we can do is hope, isn't it, from a fan's perspective? But certainly, there's going to be 3,000 fans there, is it? And they'll be hopefully making themselves heard. So it should be an epic match for them, and we will all be watching on the telly, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to finish off then, Ray, I said I'd come back to Marinakis, and you were hugely complimentary about him earlier on in this podcast. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because Forest get a lot of they get a lot of people have lots of things to say about Marinakis, but I think that's because he's so
Mm.
different to the other football owners that there are in the UK. And I think that actually
Yeah.
I wouldn't swap him for anyone. I really wouldn't.
No, I definitely, I think we've definitely got the best owner in world football. I mean, I just think I can understand why fans of other teams criticise him. Definitely because he's controversial and that always attracts criticism from some people. But for us, for me, it's just a dream having someone like that who I loved when I love when he brings the controversy into it and he takes on the FA and I loved what he did with Gibbs White. For me, that was extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it. Uh, and I probably may never see anything like it again. To be fair, it was one of a kind, wasn't it? And then the fact that it's almost like he's the Alex Ferguson of our club. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just like having an Alex Ferguson, but instead of him being the manager, he's the owner. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
There's a really interesting piece, I think it's by Jonathan Wilson in The Guardian, talking about the history of owners and managers and about how the football manager actually started off as basically like the modern day equivalent of the club secretary. They'd be booking the train tickets or whatever, and then it was in the era of
Yeah,
was it Herbert Mee at Arsenal that he was the first one who started getting involved in team affairs,
yeah,
whereas before the team would be picked by either the owner or the board of directors or whatever. So in many ways, this idea about having head coaches who are kind of almost not disposable, but you know what I mean? They're not as kind of entrenched in the club,
yeah.
and actually the club being run at the behest of the owner is actually in many ways a throwback to what football was like 100 years ago.
Exactly. It's just a different way of doing things, and ultimately, all you have to do is look at Forest's last 4 seasons to know that Marinakis himself is the main man behind the scenes. And he's employed Cooper, literally employed Cooper's services, and then obviously etc. etc. All through the last 4 years, Nuno, decent appointment, turned out really good, and then maybe the fact that he's got such high expectations, maybe that plays a part in the psychology of the managers. You know what I mean? They know that they have to win.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I would to anyone who says, "Oh, he's trigger happy and impulsive," I'd say no. What's happened? He stuck with Steve Cooper. He gave Nuno every possible
Yeah,
opportunity. Even Sabri Lamouchi, he gave him. We heard about that Zoom call, and he was going crazy about the situation because Forest didn't get in the playoffs. But he stuck with
yeah,
Sabri when he could have pulled the
yeah,
trigger. So he's trying to give his managers a chance to succeed. It's just that also, if you want to spin it in a positive way, you could say when he's made mistakes, he's owned up to it by getting rid of Postecoglou, or although it's more contentious,
yeah.
getting rid of Dyche.
Well, that's it. And then obviously off the pitch as well with the link ups with Rio Ave and the Brazilian the plans for the Brazilian youth academy link up, and then the stadium plans and buying the netball team. I love that. I love how he bought the netball team and rebranded it as Forest. I love how he's invested in the women's team. What an amazing thing to do! And he's just poured money into it, and they're just tearing it up. So all around, I just think he's doing an amazing, amazing job. Really do.
Okay, and that seems like a nice positive place to leave things. We will, of course, be back after the Fenerbahce match. As I say, I'll have a chat with George after he gets back to his hotel from the ground after that long coach journey and being kettled in the ground for a while. So we hope that he makes it there and back in one piece. I'm going to say a big thank you to Raimundo and obviously listener or watcher on YouTube, Spotify. We say thank you as well for joining us and come on, you Reds.